everyone, welcome to this week's Living La Vita Loca podcast, a retro gaming podcast for some of your retro gaming needs. As much as Rich hates me saying this now, I'm going to continue to say it until he comes up with a better slogan. His name is Rich still.
Yes, I am indeed still Rich.
And we are about 7 minutes removed from our last week's pod. Real time. And we've just been reliably informed that Rikishi is related to The Rock from our guest Kyle Taylor. So, shrugged.
That's what the internet says.
That's what the internet says. And what the internet says will always be until they take it down. So, probably if it's on a Reddit board, then it'll stay up forever.
Genuine fact.
Probably. Yeah, well, I mean, what is a fact anymore? I feel like this pod's going a bit sideways.
So we're how many beers in?
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, thank you.
Yep.
So I will take this opportunity to plug our latest collaborative adventure with Horsewith Brewery.
Do it.
Oh.
You knock yourself out. I'm going to read the can.
Yeah, do it. No, do it. Is that Starsky and Hutch? I think it is. I think it is. Yeah, Ben Stiller trying to be on. Anyway, fine, whatever. That's definitely someone write in. It's definitely Starsky and Hutch. So we are going to be working with Horsewith Brewery to bring the Horsewith community a video gaming night, as referred to in last week's pod. The first Wednesday of every month, we are going to be hosting a video gaming night at the brewery. At the tap room / brewery. So please do feel like if you want to come and do some video gaming and some drinking of beer, come and join us. And hopefully it'll be something that you'll, come to more than once, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, two things. Like, you don't have to be good at games or drinking to enjoy it.
No, hopefully. That's true.
Also, was it not Dodgeball, the Do It thing?
No, I think it's Starsky and Hutch. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But we'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I will check that
out. I knew Kyle was going to do Kyle's onto the actual fact.
Adjudicator.
What is a fact? This is a fact. This is whatever where this comes out from.
Whatever Kyle says will be a fact.
So, the first night will be the 4th,
it looks really nice
6th, 4th, 6th. Oh, this is going badly. 6th of September?
I'm pretty sure
6th of September. I think we're going to do a FIFA tournament just to bed everyone in before we absolutely hammer them with some of Rich's shmups.
Hooray!
But, I mean, Rich said you don't have to be good at drinking. I don't know. It is Starsky and Hutch.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
Do it. That's a pretty good impression of him doing a bad impression. So you said you don't have to be good at drinking.
Yeah.
What's a good drinker and what's a bad drinker?
Well, you just enjoy your beverage. That's a good drinker.
Okay.
Bad drinker is necking it crazily and going ballistic, or just spilling it everywhere like a goon.
Right, I see. Okay, fair enough. So a drunk.
Do it. My sweetie, do it.
There we go.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah. Being a drunk would be a bad drinker, but being not a drunk, it's a good drinker. Fair enough.
Just appreciating your beverage.
Okay, yeah, fair. That's probably a good assessment of being a good drinker, I guess. I'm a bad drinker. So whilst we have been drinking Horsewith Brewery drinks, we spoke last week about, we were drinking It's My Bag. We're having a little look at the brew order on this week's pod, which I tried for the first time the other week. Last week even, down at the brewery. It was fantastic. So definitely a recommendation from us, I think.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And me and Kyle have just popped open one from Salt Beer Brewery down in Shorcora, Saltaire. And I absolutely love Salt Brewery for their very strong double IPAs. And this is one that's come at 8% hoppy and juicy. So, I'll probably be hoppy and juicy in about the next 3 minutes and be that bad drunk I was just talking about, or bad drinker. So. All right, here we go. All right, okay, yeah. Yeah, accurate impression. Thank you both very much. Speaking of yobs then, so this is I just clapped very loudly in Rich's room.
No, it's fine.
That was only a medium clap for me. I have a notoriously loud thunderclap.
Really?
Yeah, I do have a thunderclap.
You have a loud clap.
Would you like me to do it?
I mean, sure, why not? Well, that is percussive.
I'd say
echoed.
I would say that was probably a lesser attempt of mine.
Was it?
It's all about how much air you Do it. It's all about how much air you catch in your clap. So
Really?
you've got to form your hands. Like Sally hates it when I clap at home because I clap like a bad drunk.
I really, really hope my neighbours are just trying to get to bed and they're just like, what is going
All right,
on?
no, I can't do it.
I think what Fazz is saying is that he can get lots of air in between the cracks on his hands.
Yeah.
What I
Yeah,
am saying
there we
is
go.
that my skill sets are low.
Yeah,
Like, as in,
well,
that's where,
my dad's clap could beat up your dad's clap.
Your dad has clap? What? No, that's all I'm hearing. Oh no.
Is this going down the Frankie Boyle route? 'Cause
It feels like it really has. Do it. That's going to be like going through the pod now. Where was I going? Yeah, Yobs. And
it's Frankie Boyle.
yeah, so this week is our free play week where we come away, or we don't have to, come away from our PSPs and PS Vitas and we review a game of our choosing and we keep it a secret from each other and then we do the review and the other person, the other co-host, has to give us a score based on what we think that person's thinking, really. So... yeah, and the reason I'm speaking of Yobs is I'm going to go first this week. My game is State of Emergency.
Oh, nice.
So that is... have you both played it? Yeah,
I have.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nods around the room. And yeah, 2001/2, I think it's from.
God, really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, yes it is. Yeah, 20 years old at least. And it's... yeah, so basically it was... published by Rockstar, so who just come off the back of Grand Theft Auto 3 on the PlayStation 2 and other consoles. Was it on Xbox or just on PlayStation 2?
Oh, good question. I think it was on Xbox, but
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was...
I don't know if this
at
was
the
on
same
Xbox
time.
or not, but so the developers were Viz Entertainment, and you can see this game. You can see some of Grand Theft Auto 3 in this game, or the way that Rockstar started to, even though they're
some of the
publishing it.
DNA.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Almost like the developers have kind of went, like, you can see why Rockstar have got their mitts, got the paw prints on this. But also vice versa, as I'll go into later. You can see how this game is in other Rockstar games as well, of later times. And probably the positive parts of this game are in later games that Rockstar have developed or published. But the reason I kind of picked this game was because I was flicking through them, and I thought, oh yeah, I've not played this game in ages, and I had a feeling that I really enjoyed the game at the time, and that feeling was not true as much certainly nowadays. So whilst you're both quite effusive with your nodding about playing this game and enjoying it, it wasn't as well. I didn't remember it, like isn't as well as I should have done, I don't think so.
All right, so I'm gonna sit out my stall right now. I'm gonna guess that it would be a really good rental game because I distinctly remember absolutely fucking rinsing it with a friend of mine. Over a couple of evenings, and I don't even remember getting far into it. Like, if you can even progress, but we played an absolute shitload of it, and had a really, really good time. But I don't remember it having any kind of depth.
You have stolen my review.
Have I? Shit.
End of the podcast. No, it's not far off. I won't lie. But one thing,
Also, an opportunity for another podcast. Rental games.
Rental games is definitely very much so, because everyone just,
It's something that kids today would just not
They just
understand.
wouldn't get it.
I have tried to find out if you can rent games still, and that there is one or two places on the internet you can still do rental games, but
Really?
it's not really not really value driven. So it's a bit it's a bit of a weird system, but it definitely is you miss your blockbusters and your global videos and stuff. So, but yes, and I've got a couple of specific games in my head about that. So that is a good podcast. Well, great shout, Kyle. So I want to read this out to you. This is the blurb from Wikipedia, fact, of this game. And the reason I thought this is really apt, after I started playing this game, I kind of looked a little bit of detail about it. And this is really interesting that this is here. In 2023, this is the game.
Shit, what? It's set in 2023?
Well, partially. The backstory of the game. In 2023, the United States government was weakened by an economic crisis. I was like, holy shit. I was like, oh my God. Foreboding. In response, the American Trade Organization, commonly known as the Corporation, builds a paramilitaristic force and overthrows the government not too different from the Capitol riots, like a couple of years ago. Taking over the United States of America and establishing a corporatized totalitarian police state. Years later, in 2035, so we'll have to look out, an underground resistance named Freedom began a campaign of resistance and soon sparked a national riot. The corporation declares a state of emergency. Game title. The game takes place in Capital City. Shock. The player joins Freedom in an attempt to overthrow the corporation. They must play as one of a selection of 5 characters who each have their own unique backgrounds. I played this game with a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. Not a whole bottle. I had about half a bottle.
And a straw.
Bad drinker. It's very much a juxtaposition to what the game is. Drinking, having a glass of wine and beating the shit out of people in various ways with random weapons.
But it's okay because it's for an organisation called Freedom.
Exactly.
If the organisation was called Dickheads, then it's a problem.
You listened to the blurb, well done.
Did you only drink half a bottle of wine because the other half a bottle was thrown at the television?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's all that was left. It's a beat 'em up basically, beat 'em up game. Yeah. It doesn't move around like a beat 'em up. That you would, what would you class as a beat 'em up? Like Streets of Rage, sort of kind of.
Yeah, that kind of 2D sort of start on the left, go right, and hit people in the face on the way.
Exactly.
I kind of remember State of Emergency involving like quite flailing animations.
Yeah. The animations are very comic booky. And that probably benefits the game, I think, really, because because it feels very high concept. Like there's a lot of violence in so much that your character, you are just beating people to a pulp to get points, or now those people are usually bad people, like you say, they're usually gangs or the corporation, but regardless, that's your role really. And there's lots of weapons to pick up, and the variety of weapons is, I'm gonna say is great, for the purpose of the game. Yeah, axes, Molotov cocktails, grenades, rocket launchers, flamethrowers, Uzis, you name it, you can pick it up. And the different ways that you use them it's really fun in a way, because there is a lot of variety about what the game tries to drive you to do. So, but as you alluded to, it is a very paper-thin game in terms of actually mechanically. Whilst there's a backset story, it doesn't actually matter. You're just a person running around killing people. It doesn't matter why that's actually happening, really. It doesn't ever explain in-game why that's happening. The opening video is just literally like a 10-second FMV. It's nothing. It doesn't explain what you're doing. There's a little bit of a blurb beside each character in terms of explains who they are, but it doesn't explain why they're doing what they're doing, really. There's 2 characters open to you at the start. You can pick up to 5 characters once you start to complete parts of the game. But in terms of completing the game, there's 2 modes. There's a chaos mode and a revolution mode. The revolution mode I played the least, and that is, even though when we say there isn't much to it, there's 185 missions on revolution mode, and you go through 4 different maps. But the missions are very Billy Bob basic. They'll be like, go to this bank, blow up this bank, fight like 3 guys, come back to me, then go and fight 3 more guys to get this videotape, come back to me. It very like generic. They last about 3.5 minutes, these missions, and the settings at a shopping mall, for example, it doesn't really matter. It's all just kind of background noise. That is just you're about to say some words.
I'm hovering on a thought, and I'm going to start talking and hope that it kind of actually starts to make sense. But with Streets of Rage and stuff like that, you're vigilantes and you're beating up bad people and all that kind of stuff. But they go out of their way to explain, like, these are bad people you're hurting.
Yeah.
What you're describing just sounds like a series of terrorist attacks.
Well, you are a terrorist organisation, technically.
Like that is, yeah.
Comparative to what the status quo of this, of the game is. You have created a state of emergency.
I'm only saying this out loud because I've only just realised it.
So actually, you are in many people's
You
lives,
are the problem.
the bad guys.
Yeah.
And there are in the background. There's up to like 200. I think when I read about it, up to 250. NPCs on any frame of the screen at any one time running around, and that's a lot of people but the good thing is, you were shaking your head there, Carl.
Just so many NPCs in my life.
Yeah. but you'll be happy to know that you can interact with all of them, so you can beat the shit out of anybody.
But it's a choice.
It is, yeah.
That's good. That's something.
Yeah. You do lose points for civilian deaths, and you kind of managed to avoid them quite a bit. That is so considering there's so many people running around, at one point you might end up with maybe 10 corporation officers around you, and you'll be flailing around trying to beat the shit out of all of them all at once, and you might catch a couple of stray sort of civilians at the same time, but you don't kill that many people that are, I guess, good guys in the game, really, so you don't feel so bad about it, but it does happen.
Good, bad, or indifferent? That's a very philosophical question, right?
Yeah.
Because you're bad by definition of the fact that you're fighting against the corporation.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the whole, sheepdogs, sheep and wolves bullshit, or
one of them.
Pussies, assholes, and whatever the right?
I know exactly what analogy you're referring to.
It's the same thing. And,
It's,
But the paper thinness is, there are quite a few games that have happened since, and it really suits. So I would define this as a completely different game to, the Streets of Rage. Yeah, it's beat 'em up in that kind of sense, but I think it's a completely different genre of game. So, I'm trying to think of other examples. Dead Rising would be an example of something I would put in this category.
Yeah.
And I loved Dead Rising. But there's cock-hole story to it.
Yeah.
It's somehow you've woken up in this area and there are zombies everywhere. 1,000 points for a zombie head.
But exactly.
Wear fun costumes.
Yeah.
3,200 points because you're now using a lawnmower. It's great.
And you guys are just...
All for it.
You're reading my mind in so much that, I wrote in my notes that it's like Streets of Rage, only in so much that it's a beat 'em up within that genre. But in Streets of Rage, like you said, you feel like you've got a mission. Here you're just roaming. You're just roaming to get points.
Just balance for the sake of it.
But on Carl's point, it's very fun. It's very fun. It's just, the problem is it's really repetitive fun. Yeah. And being only 4 maps, and the maps, they're all right, and they are different from each other, but not a lot. It feels like, I've said this before, one of these games is a bit of a testing ground, sort of it feels like it's almost, and you can tell, and this is what I referred to at the start of the pod, the Rockstar, I think Rockstar maybe published it, but the Warriors, the Warriors game, now I'm a massive fan of the Warriors film, I love it, and then the Warriors game came along, and I thought, I need to play this, and that game is absolutely sensational. That is a proper... amazing. You can play multiplayer, beat 'em up, where the story nearly kind of matches, but also I'd say even betters the film. The film is the thing that feels like it's got a short story and should have more fleshing out of it. The game fleshes that film story out even further, gives you a character within the game, within the film, and grows that, and all of them get growth. And the mechanics are brilliant, and the gameplay in that, you can see how this was almost like a bit of a sandbox for that in a way. That is in just the fighting part of it. Yeah, just the fighting part really. So if anything, it's done that. I feel like, for Rockstar to be able to come and have the Warriors and have that game. And when we play the Warriors in the future, because I will at some point, there'll be no shock at how high that score will be for that game. But yeah, this feels like a lot of fun, but really kind of low value. I'd say this is like knock around fun in a way. And the best mode, so the Revolution mode is the mission based mode, but it just feels like I wasn't that interested really as much as it was. The Chaos mode was actually, you just had to get to a set number of points within a time limit, and which sounds like all, like you're kind of doing the same thing, and you kind of are, but it does start to creep in a difficulty level and a challenge and an arcade. I'm pointing at Richie, pointing in an arcade sort of style where you start to think, I need to do this differently, and I need to learn. Actually, the first time I did this, I didn't have enough time to play this certain way. So, and the game does give you I guess it guides you in a certain direction, sort of say, bonus score for killing corporation forces, and it'll tell you in the top right hand corner, or ×5 if you kill corporation forces for the next 30 seconds. Oh, right, okay, cool. That's giving me something a bit more targeted to do. Or smash windows for bonus score. It's like, ×10 score on the windows. So you go and destroy buildings and things. But at the same time, while you're building your score up, more gangs will come into the area, more corporation forces come to the area, and they'll have better weapons. So they'll be shooting you in the back while you're trying to destroy windows. There is an element of strategy to what you need to be doing. And the longer I played the game for, the more I understood there was more strategy. So initially, when I played it within that rental period, quote marks, it was just knock around fun, and it should be better than this. And actually, there's not much to it. But the more I realised it was actually more of an arcadey kind of game, and there were ways that you could learn to then progress. And you had to score a certain score to unlock the next map. And then once you've unlocked all 4 maps, you get another character and things like that. And there was a couple of different types of modes. But I enjoyed the chaos mode the most. And then there's a chaos mode, which was a 3-minute time limit and a 5-minute time limit. But the chaos mode where you could gain more time, and when you killed an enemy, they would throw out life and time. So the more enemies you killed as you went, the longer you could keep the mode going. Therefore, the more points you got as well. Mm-hmm. So there was really a learning curve and a difficulty curve to it, which I've got to give it credit for. But at the same time, it is still quite paper thin as a whole experience. Like, I played that game for 2 nights, and I was like, I'm completely done with this game. I could obviously do more to complete the game, but in terms of what I was feeling and what I'd played that game, it was exactly what you said with your experience, that I was missing playing with somebody in the room, even though there's not a multiplayer mode for it. But I felt like what I played, I did the exact same thing as you, played with someone in the room, and you're having fun, you're like, oh, this is great, and look how I've murdered this person, or, listen, look how I blew up this building. It was definitely a shared experience with maybe a friend, but also, as well, it was a very quick experience, I think. So that was a weird thing to say.
It was, yeah. I was not going to draw attention to that until you said that. But yes, that was filth.
Anywho, so yeah, that's my review of State of Emergency. How do you plead, Your Honour, with the score on that one, Rich?
That sounds like an easy, 5 out of 10 sort of. It's good, does what it sets out to do. It's fun. You're not going to despise your time with it or anything like that. But yeah, long term, it's not going to do much more. That sounds like a 5 out of 10 to me.
Yeah, and that's fair. I was hovering around 4 or 5, I think. So and that but that falls in the ballpark of, I'm not upset that I've ever played this game. I had fun. Yeah. But that game could have passed me by ships in the night, and I wouldn't have been bothered. And I think the only reason I ever played that game in the first place was because it was Rockstar developed Grand Theft Auto 3, and then therefore this is a Rockstar game. And I think my friend was like, and my friend Nate, who's been on the pod, was like, oh, we'll play this game, and and you play it based on that, I guess, reputation. So I'm not upset that I've played it, but I'm also not bothered that I played it either. So yeah, that was me this week. So cool. Good guess, well done.
Thanks.
Or not even a guess. It's what is it? Come on, a sleuthing.
Detected.
Thank you. Yeah, detected. You detected something.
Deduced.
Thank you for the word that I could not think of. Both of you. Look at you both with your lush black hair, your glasses, and your purple t-shirts on, sat across the room. You beautiful people coming up with words for me. Friends that I like to have short, quick experiences with. Rich, you just start talking already.
Oh my God.
Do it.
Right, okay.
Do it.
Cool. I was actually playing something because it was a request.
Oh!
I was asked to play something. So my
Sit by your mum.
no,
Is it by your grand now?
it was by my dad.
Hi,
Go with
Richard.
your eyes.
Hi, Dad. Hope you've enjoyed the intro and the innuendo. So he enjoyed my takedown of my beloved childhood Lion King.
Yeah, good.
So
You didn't.
he's asked me to play Echo the Dolphin Tides of Time.
Oh, no. Bad
That
Richard,
is-
Dad.
that is
Bad.
literally. I thought this was going to go down Sega Mega Drive Lion King route, and I was like, "Oh my god, this could be bad." But now this is worse.
Yeah.
So it's actually, I'm glad you've started there because, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. But then I started playing it again, and like what I discovered through playing The Lion King was how, despite the decades of trying, despite having every possible advantage that 2023 can give me, save states, cheats, God knows what else, I still can't make any fucking headway on that game.
Yeah,
Like-
teaching kids hard life lessons.
Well,
No,
absolutely.
that's exactly what it's about.
And
Mufasa-
teaching
Mufasa's
adults
dead and you can't play
similar-
games.
Yeah, yeah. You will always suck. Stop trying.
Be better.
So I started playing this. It's the sequel to Echo the Dolphin. So you are playing as a dolphin.
Holy shit, there's more than one Ecco the Dolphin game.
I think there were in total maybe about 4.
What?
Not all on the Mega Drive, I hasten to add.
I'm so
I mean,
confused.
the farming simulator has gone on way too long. Are you surprised?
No,
Well, yeah.
no. Well, I mean, wait, that's...
There's Goat Simulator 4.
Yeah,
I'm
Farming
pretty sure.
Simulator is...
Goat
you know,
Simulator's great.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's gone too long. I was completely unaware that there was more than one Ecco the Dolphin game. I thought there was just
Yeah.
one, and it was fucking terribly hard.
So this is the sequel. This is the second one.
Which one did I play then? I think I played Tides of Time.
So-
I feel like that was the one I had.
Echo 1, you are basically saving your pod from an entity known as the Vortex. And that's about all I know. Echo 2, you're living peacefully with your pod, and then all hell breaks loose, or something. Basically, you you start hearing like rumors of the kind of the entity from the first game coming back somehow, and songs in the sea are all like, it's lots of great mysterious stuff. But you're learning all of this by talking to other dolphins, and part of my problem was that when you start like time traveling, like you go to the future and all that kind of stuff, and the dolphins have bigger fins, and in my case talk German because I've accidentally set it to German. So luckily my wife speaks German, so I was able to help translate these future dolphins for me. But it added a certain level of mystique to proceedings, which I appreciated. So this is like The Lion King. I played this a lot when I was a kid, and going back to it now, I realise how little of the game I actually played. And spoiler alert, I have continued to play very little of the game. I can get further than I used to be able to get. I cannot get very far into the game.
Is this where you use your sonar to just mess around with the crystals?
So you can do that. Yeah, there is a level where you have to like basically nudge these crystals together.
Yeah.
Relatively early on using your sonar.
Yeah.
You can use it to like get a map of the area and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You've got this other attack where you basically just headbutt stuff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this is the game I played. Then.
So
Yeah.
like those bits are in it.
And did very little also.
Yeah. Like there are times when it almost plays like a shmup because you're using your sonar on enemies and stuff like that. You've got your oxygen and your health to worry about, and you can build your health back up by eating fish and good wholesome dolphin stuff. And like it's the kind of game that when I was younger, it was fine that I only played a little bit of it because the animation of the dolphin and just jumping out of the water and stuff like that, it was genuinely lovely. Like, and it looks great. The thing is that when you get a bit further into the game, all of that animation and nice, lovely momentum of being a dolphin, like really, really hamstrings what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Like it's trying to get you to do some complicated, intricate stuff, but with a physics system that is geared around a waterborne mammal. So like it's it's never going to be the most precise, but it wants you to be. and that's where it falls down, because you start to like get to the stage that you have like these sky tides and stuff like that. So you're fucking flying. You're a flying dolphin. You know, you're up in the air trying to stay on these paths, but like you're also, you know, have a pretty big turning circle, and you don't stop where you stop. You roll a little bit still, and like
a real dolphin
like
would,
a
obviously.
dolphin would in the water, and all that kind of stuff. And there was one particular bit, the level it was the like Medusa tubes, I think the level was called, where you basically get this giant flying jellyfish type thing with this massive tentacle that just grabs you and throws you out of the like path you're on in the sky, right? It's really difficult to get around it. Like, it's not impossible. Like, I can see how it can be done. It's just that I wasn't able to pull it off. But the problem is that if you fall off the bottom of the level, you don't just go back to the previous level and have to work your way. You get pushed back 2 levels to a level that you've already completed.
Whoa.
To find the exit again, to get back onto the path, to get back to where you were.
Oh my days.
So like it can literally throw you back like 2 levels just because it fancies it, effectively. And like that was the point where I was like, just no. just no, I can't do it. And the difference with this though is that unlike Lion King, you know, you have like password saves, as it were. So if you wanted to go see something later in the game, you just go online, you just find the password, you pop it in, Bob's your uncle. So I've seen the last level, I've seen the boss and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, you don't earn it.
What is the boss of the dolphins?
It's like the vortex thing. Like, it gets very sci-fi. So it's like a giant worm type thing. Spoilers for 30 years ago. You
slash anybody that ever got to
the end of it. But a lot of the entities that you end up coming across and a lot of the environments owe a lot to like aliens and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of that kind of H.R. Giger design going on. It does get very science fiction. But you know, between that and like there are some cheats. So if you wanted to give yourself a better chance with like invincibility or an easy mode and all that kind of stuff, like there are options. Point is that it feels less like inherently broken than the Lion King, just bastard hard still. But at the same time, like find me another game where you're playing as a dolphin. You know, like it is distinctive. You know,
I'm sorry, you're riding that down.
I'm riding this dolphin.
Okay, that's what you're gonna go with.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's, and I'm desperately scanning my notes for literally anything else. But
I've entirely switched off from this conversation.
Send your sonar.
I
ping your sonar against them. See what happens.
Like genuinely, like it's a weird one. Like I would rate it higher than the Lion King as far as like playability and like potential for being able to play it. But at the same time, like I looked at how many levels there are, and I got to like level 6 out of about 29.
No way.
Like I am
like level
shit
2
at this game. Yeah. Like I'm awful at this game. Like legitimately, demonstrably terrible.
So what you're saying is because you were worse at a significantly better game, this game is worse than that game.
I'm saying this game is potentially better than that game because potentially I would be able to play more of it.
That's what I meant, but I got it the wrong way.
So
around.
what did you give?
Potato.
What did we get? What did I give? What did we do with Lion King? Then was it 3 out of 10?
I
think it was. I said that you said I said 6 or something, didn't I? Because
you said 6, and then I put it down. It's on the spreadsheet. It's 2.
Oh, 2.
It's on the spreadsheet. It's 2.
Wow.
Mainly because like there's a lot to like about it, right? There genuinely is, but even with every advantage that modern technology can give you, it still feels broken, right? Like fundamentally broken. Echo doesn't. It doesn't feel broken. It feels difficult, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't
But is that
point
not,
at it.
is that not a bit broken? Like it's just too hard for a 35-year-old man to take a dolphin through space and time?
It's too hard for a 35-year-old man to navigate a dolphin
Sometimes
through the
water.
sky past a homing tentacled jellyfish creature, but it's still potentially easier than guiding a lion cub up a waterfall of logs. What a sentence.
Get
Because
that
that-
tattooed somewhere.
yeah. You get a t-shirt.
And then just put colon, do it. So, yeah, I'm going to go back to my initial score for Lion King and say 6 out of 10 for that. Maybe the difficulty should knock it down a bit, but you sounded positive about it, that you thought that there was a good game in there and that the mechanics and the graphics and, it was drawn really well, but it just sounds like just too darn hard.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I mean, what sort of, did you want to give it a score, Kyle, or were you sufficiently not listening and thinking of The Lion King?
It wasn't so much I was not listening. It's just I have memories of playing this game and going, I hate this game.
I refuse to listen.
Fair.
Okay, so therefore I'm going to knock my score down because the fact that our guest refused to listen on the difficulty of it shows that it's far too difficult, and 5 out of 10 is much more fair.
Yeah, I think it's there or thereabouts. I want to like it. I think that's ultimately the problem. I think if I was looking at it objectively, I would probably be more willing to write it off in a bit more of a harsh way. Lion King, the difference with The Lion King is that I do like The Lion King. It's just broken. Ecco the Dolphin, I've never liked as much as The Lion King, but it feels like the game as a whole is just a bit better put together.
It's like somebody adopted a dolphin and then had a Molotov cocktail of drugs and then went, do you know what would be great? I'll make a game.
Yeah.
It is literally
It does sound about right.
fucking wild.
Would it make a good musical?
I would watch Echo the Musical. Yes.
And I'm really thinking about. Have you watched the film adaptation of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yes, but a long time ago.
It's a bit of a weird sort of, I guess, British production. But one of the standout bits is the "So Long and Thanks for All the Fish" song. And there's lots of dolphins dancing around, and I feel like Echo is in the pod of the dolphins that are leaving Earth because they're too fucking clever for us, So
well, yeah. I mean, they were all talking German and stuff like that, and seemingly having if you'll excuse the pun, whale of a time.
I mean, is that foreshadowing or is that?
I don't know. That's what made it so difficult. But
or did the game make you feel like it was an error, but really?
I mean, it definitely felt like it was my fault. I was looking at the menu, and I think I just pressed the wrong buttons. The question is, how did I get the menu up? That's what I've not been able to work
Too
out.
fucking difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, probably something the Vortex did to you.
As a good example, the when you first go into the game, right? You have the title screen, you press start, and then you are just a dolphin floating in a cave, right? If you go left, you can input your password to get to the level selects and things like that. If you're starting a new game, you have to go a certain direction to pick your difficulty. And if you don't look at the manual, you don't know which ways you're meant to be going.
Maybe that's what's wrong.
But it's that sort of thing. I think to get to the difficult path, you have to do some extra stuff that if you had just picked up the game the first time, you wouldn't necessarily know to do.
Okay.
Or that you could do. It might mitigate it a little bit, but it's those sorts of design decisions that are just a bit okay. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Yeah, well, with that blowhole.
Any game that you can't just roll into and mash buttons to figure out is too hard.
In fact,
I agree.
I think that is a fair point, and it did make me realise, in terms of design and stuff like that, how far we've come for just getting people into a game and enjoying it. In fact, when you first came in this evening to start recording, you came up the stairs, right? Went on the landing and went, I've just defaulted to the room with the light on, right?
Yep.
That is a game design thing. If ever you're lost in a game, follow the lights, right? Because the lights are always on for where you need to be going.
I thought I did that all my life, but sure.
But that's why it's in the games, because you
There's
do
so many
things like
NPCs
that.
in my life, Rich. Don't become one.
But this game doesn't do anything like that. That's the difference, right? It doesn't have any of those little moments to just guide you by the hand a little bit more gently.
Tried so hard and come so far.
Sorry, in the end, you're still a dolphin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
still a fucking dolphin. Yeah, cool. Right, Kyle. Judged on what we have just spouted out of our blowholes, is there anything that you've been playing at all recently? Oh, I did. You missed it. We were not listening so much. He even asked you.
God, I've dropped
even. So you hated the game so much that even when he asked you directly to score it,
-6 out of 10.
So that brings the score to 0.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Or -1. Yeah, no. Is there anything that you've been playing recently that you can kind of give us any steer on, or at all? You know, in your recent past, where you just want to spout out about a game at all, or no? You don't. You could say no and end the pod right now.
I feel awkward now, so I'll talk for at least a few minutes.
Oh, I would have loved for you to have said no, and then we just cut it.
I was gonna, but then Fazz said something, and now I'm like,
cut it now.
Yeah, but you know, sad times.
NPCs, man.
NPCs everywhere. Don't come on. So I'm playing at the moment. It's not very retro, but I am playing Diablo 4. But the reason I am playing Diablo 4 is because I've got quite fond memories of playing Diablo 1 on the PC.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, what I would say is I have done nothing but turn it on. The login sequence was a little bit... I didn't enjoy that. There was too much going on with the login sequence. I had to have a profile on Blizzard and all this kind of...
Oh, no. Not Activision Blizzard.
I was very close to giving up. Very close to giving up. But then, since getting into it, it is exactly like just that dungeon-oriented, like, here's your little area, or here's this castle, or here's this whatever. What's lovely is, like, it's not leveled. There are no loading screens anymore. You're just constantly wandering about.
Can I ask just the most basic question? What's the conceit of... I mean, I'm asking for 3 or 4 listeners that may have never played Diablo. I mean, I've never played Diablo. But that is in what's the general conceit of the game?
So, Diablo is a dungeon crawling and loot gathering game.
Okay.
That's fundamentally what it is. And it's based in a world where... the old parables of like devils and angels falling and rising and all this kind of stuff. And basically devils and angels have gotten fed up of this eternal war that's going on. And then some of them have banded together to create this land called Sanctuary. And the way the story goes is humans are actually descendants of those angels and devils that have lost their powers over time and then become human, basically. And so the characters that you play are people that have retained some power in some form. Generally, that's the basic concept. But the whole point is you have a very limited set of skills. You play a very specialised kind of character. It's supposed to be like a co-op band your party together, or you can play on your own. But then you go off and you explore random areas and dungeons and whatever else. And there's just hordes and hordes and hordes of enemies.
Yeah. Cool. Fair enough. And
the Butcher, who is still an absolute...
Enjoying it?
Yeah. And I think that's the... I didn't think I would. And I kind of got it as a backstop. Because somebody I was having a chat to, and they were like, actually, it's really good. It's worth, giving it a go.
Yeah.
But what I do like about it is very retro. Like, it's like the graphics are great and the cutscenes are pretty good, but it's all top-down dungeon crawling.
Yeah.
And it still gives me that flavour of, like, what it originally was.
Yeah.
So... It is, albeit a great game, and it seems very well put together. It's very nostalgic at the same time.
Yeah. Cool. Fair enough.
And I'm playing a druid, and I can turn into a fucking werebear.
That's kind of fun, because, like, I'm one of those filthy casuals that jumped on Diablo 3. And, like, it was fun. and I rampaged through that a couple of times. But yeah, like it just felt like it was missing a kind of something suitably ridiculous until they brought out like the necromancer class and you could throw like jars of spiders at everything. So it's kind of nice to know that you can do something suitably ridiculous like
They've
turn into
changed
a
all.
weber.
They have changed all the characters up actually, and
Yeah.
they seem to be better balanced. So like the necromancer is actually not a necromancer anymore.
Okay.
There's always been a necromancer in it, but it's
Yeah.
actually a battle mage that summons skeletons to help them
Okay,
more than it
yeah,
is
yeah.
a necromancer
Yeah.
in your typical necromancer style. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So,
Yeah.
super quick, score that bad boy, Rich.
I'm going to go with 7
Yeah.
off the bat. But then I'm kind of biased because I kind of want to play it myself.
Mm,
I've been dabbling with Diablo
Okay.
2, but like, yeah,
Okay.
Come to my house, Rich.
I might do.
I'm going to give it 8, so we're going to go with a 7.5, which we wouldn't normally do
wouldn't normally
halvesies,
do.
but because we two of us are having a little dabble, I think you really quite like that game, and I think that it's down your alley. So, speaking of your alley, Diagon Alley, nerds, playing dice games, you two there were just bouncing off each other in a lovely fashion. You dungeon crawling bastards. And I just want to quickly end up talking about what I spoke about at the start of the last pod, and I'm going to ask you both about board games, because so we all get along. We're all very good friends.
Do we?
Oh,
Yeah, no, we do.
and yeah, but not that I don't ever get invited, but that
You're
isn't-
always invited.
I know,
Always refused.
I know,
Oh, we're
exactly.
doing an
That's
intervention.
no. I just said it's not that I don't get invited. It's not that. No. But
The tone of your
I would
voice.
no. I would no. I feel like
Just feel like an intervention.
no, it's not. Oh my word! Right, okay. Let me get my point across. So,
It's so
I feel
fun
like
making you
that
not.
there's like there's like that Ecco the Dolphin divergence in terms of choice of things. Whereas like I think that the thing that I'm slightly different on is that I'm not interested at all in that realm of the world that you guys dip into, I'm interested in you guys playing those kind of games, but I'm not interested in being involved. And I think I've even said previously that I'd come round, drink beers and have fun and chat while you guys play those kind of games. But so just you play D&D every week, is it?
Yeah.
And you've been known to play 8 to 10 hours worth of board games of random choice sort of things as well, and do D&D stuff as well.
Only with Rich.
But only with Rich, yeah. But just a random question then. I'm getting all choked up about this now.
Getting emotional.
Just what is it that you guys enjoy about it?
Do you want to go
Why
first,
did you
Carl?
just sound like Yoda? Because I'm just thinking on the...
Sorry, don't let me stop you.
Just answered the question. No. So...
Oh, yeah, nerd. I remember now.
No, I just think it's really I think it's a really cool thing to be into, but I just don't feel like I have the patience or capacity to be able to do something for 3 or 4 hours at a time that isn't a video game or a film. Like, as in, I feel like that flows over me, whereas I feel like I really need to be quite invested in a dice rolling game. But so I'm relying on you guys giving a quick 7 or 8 minute conversation about what's good about them and why people should play them.
I think it's worth categorizing because they're very. If we were to, I know that some board games have some elements of this, but if we were to categorize a difference between board games and like tabletop role playing games, is probably the best description.
Yeah, well, there we go. That's what I
yeah.
wanted to get to then. Yeah,
They are quite. They have similarities, but they are quite different. So, like, if you asked me when I was a kid, did I like playing board games? No, fucking hated it. But the reason why I hated it is because the board games that we would play would generally be really quite plain or bland.
Scrabble.
Yeah, like, I'm not about that life.
Monopoly.
Not about that life. Yeah, Monopoly caused too many like fights, and frustration was frustrating. And you know,
Wait,
I quite liked
name more titles.
I quite liked Dominoes. Played a lot of card games, stuff like that. It's kind of born out of like camping been on camping holidays and stuff.
Back round to the previous pod when I was talking about, handheld gaming now taking over that place. So maybe so many people won't get into dominoes.
I think where I started getting more interested in board games is when I had a group of friends who were also interested in board games, but board games of a more complex nature, like with a richer story.
Just say it, yeah.
Well, it's not so much that, because I like all kinds of board games, but I like something that challenges me.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm looking for in it, and it's the same that I look for with like anything I do. Like it has to I have to find it mentally engaging, or I just switch off and I don't. The added bonus is like when I got to that point where I found that group of friends, we all really liked drinking, which made the board games even better.
Yeah.
Yep.
That does help.
Because you start making some really stupid fucking decisions.
And that is half the fun
I have
of it.
one spaceship, I will kill your fleet.
I'd agree with a lot of that. Because for me, like with the tabletop role playing stuff, it's about like it definitely taps into the person in me that ended up going to university to do media arts and doing a lot of writing and stuff like that. I like that collaborative storytelling side of it. And at its best, it's not a game that's you and your mates getting together to tell a story and bouncing ideas off each other. And that is a kind of environment that I feel like creatively I thrive in. I've always really enjoyed just sitting around with people that I know I get on with, chatting absolute bollocks, like bouncing these things off of each other, right?
Rich let me bottle a kid last time.
Exactly.
Best thing I did in the game.
It's that sort of... it's that sort of thing.
NPCs.
But like you...
Bottle children.
But you carry that through, and it's exactly the same part of me that enjoyed like the kind of... You'd call it emergent storytelling in like the Grand Theft Auto games or the Battlefield games and all that kind of stuff. The shit that just happens while you're playing it, right? That's not necessarily a scripted story event. It's the way it pans out.
Yeah.
It taps into a very similar part of it for me. And then with the board games, I completely agree with what Kyle was saying. Like your Scrabbles and your Monopolies and all that kind of stuff is all fine and dandy, but I like stuff that either has a bit more mechanical depth that I can kind of sink my teeth into, or like elegance even, I guess would be a way of putting it, because like one of my favorite games like is basically like a kind of variation on chess, but you are working off of randomly selected cards that can tell you what your moves could be, but you're sharing them with your opponent, so you're always playing the hand that's opposite you because you know that they're going to be able to use your card in a turn's time and all that kind of stuff. And so it's very simple but effective without being just a bit like, I don't want to say mindless, but it's quite late. I can't think of a better word for it, ironically enough. But yeah, like there's definitely a sweet spot, because there is such a thing as too complicated for me when it comes to board games. And I just like, I get lost, and that's about the time that I start making up my own game in my head and just going and doing whatever. But yeah, I just like there to be a little bit of meat on the bone, basically.
It does go too far though. Like there is a level. So like Rich might disagree with me on this, but we've played Twilight Imperium together like quite a few times. You have to set a whole day aside because it is that complicated.
Yeah.
But it's just, for me, it's just on the verge. Like I would deem that like a masterpiece of a board game. Like
I was going to just
people
say,
have put
give us
so
your
much thought
recommendations,
into it.
but
Yeah.
you both just have given us a recommendation. What was yours called? Was it
You know what? I have completely forgotten the name of it, which is really
Ecco The
annoying.
Dolphin 3?
No.
Cards of Time.
So the problem I've got, right, is that the name that keeps coming to mind is definitely not the name of this game, because all I'm thinking of is Daikatana, which is what John Romero did after Doom, and it flopped, and it's not that. I can't remember it, but it is downstairs. I know exactly where it is.
You had an opportunity to share that, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
Kyle, Twilight Imperium. You said it's perfection.
Oh, it's not perfect, but I think it's kind of as good as you're going to get in terms of like complicated mechanics, depth of story. Like the board changes every time because it's all based on hexagonal tiles, and the only one that stays the same is the very middle one.
Yeah.
And then everybody who's playing lays all the rest of them out, so it's just a random board every time. The downside is you need people that know how to play it well.
Yeah.
So it took us, I think, 2 or 3 times to like properly get the mechanics.
Yeah, and even then, I'm not entirely sure I completely cemented it.
But like, you can be so many different characters and all this kind of stuff. But it is what I enjoyed most about that was the game itself was beautiful. I don't understand all of it, even at this point in time. I've played it probably like 8 to 10 times. The reason I've only played it 8 to 10 times is because you've got to get a group of people to make it work.
Yeah.
And then you've all got to like sit down and have a day. It's like a day drinking session, basically. You sit down and you do it from like midday through to like 8, 9, 10 p.m, depending on how it goes. And that's great, but, limited time available to do that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And that's, I guess, the downside of it. There are like lots of other great little games out there, though, that have popped up that are kind of like based on similar random stuff. So one I've come across, which I wanted to get you all to play. You probably won't play, you'll probably just watch.
I told you to just drink. It's fine. I'll do the day drinking without the playing.
But it's called The Captain is Dead. And
Sounds fun,
it's
alright.
like a knockoff of Star Trek, and basically like the
I have heard of
the
this,
Borg
actually.
have infested the Enterprise.
Nice.
So they can't have any other branding or media or whatever else, because it's...
But
it's basically the same. And you play as either an android or the medical hologram or whatever, or an engineer, for example. And you can all do different stuff, but you all have your own limitations. And it's a tiny, tiny little board, but just a really well thought out game that you can have a laugh at. And that's, lots of little bits like that.
That's cool.
Onitama. That was the name of the game that I was going to recommend.
Arnie Hammer? Isn't he
Onitama.
actor? Right, okay.
Onitama.
Yeah.
Thinking of little games that are very, very well thought out. Yeah,
Cool.
highly recommended.
Perfect.
Avoid Daikatana.
Bad.
Bad.
Yeah. Sounds better though. Won't lie.
But you should play board games so far. They're good for you. Good for your brain.
No.
Make it
No.
Nope. Nope.
And on that.
On that aneurysm. No. Cool. Thank you all very much for listening. And we appreciate your time. And thank you for coming on these weeks, Kyle. You might be allowed back on again, maybe.
We didn't do
Third time's a charm, right?
This
is my third time, so third time's a charm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, technically it is, isn't it? Yeah, so that's fine. We could do the applaud at the end.
Yeah.
Well done for me.
Right. Oh, you had to ruin it. We had
Yes,
a good
I got the whole
run.
clap.
Yeah.
Sorry, Richard's neighbours. Fuck you.